And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and this is NCAA from the Chaos Alliance. It's actually Excisors and Glorious Blasters from the Chaos Alliance, so shout out to everybody there. And he's doing really well in his Fleet Raid or Fleet Arena. He can climb to #1, and in Arena he's having some fun. Really what he's more concerned about or more worried about is trying to place well in Sith Raid, being able to help out in Grand Arena, Territory Wars. He said he's kind of working on the Old Republic and a little bounty hunter action, but he is a Dolphin and he's been playing for a year. So that's why some of the characters that you think he should have, he doesn't have quite yet, because he's working on all of those characters. After a year being a Dolphin, you look pretty good. Now, I know you say Dolphin, but your spending, from what you said, is actually exceptionally low compared to most individuals. So you would almost borderline on mostly free to play for what you explained to me that you spend, but you do spend just a tiny bit of money in the game. But you can see that you've got a hyper focus and you've got a lot of great characters in the top, and you love your dark side, which is great. There's a lot of great dark side, and you also have some great light side. We're going to go through some of the most important teams. I'm going to prioritize it based on where you're currently at in this moment. What I think, if I took over your account, what I would focus on and go towards, based on what's going to score me the most damage in both the Sith Raid and Grand Arena and Territory Wars. So this is pretty simple. We're going to talk about the Zetas involved and how these teams that I'm about to talk about are going to affect your Sith Raid, Grand Arena, and Territory Wars. But we're just going to kind of go through, we're going to talk about basically 4 different factions, so to speak, or 4 different areas of the game that you should kind of focus on. And hopefully this will really get you going, because what you asked for your roster review was kind of, you knew what you need to farm, you just want the order of farming that will help you in Sith Raid, Grand Arena, Territory Wars. And then the side note was Zetas that you'd like to focus on through that. So let's get started. Now, you mentioned that you are currently doing Old Republic, and where you're at, they're all farmable, and Revan does they're like the second highest damage dealing team in the entire Sith Raid. Revan teams are also the most defensible teams in Grand Arena and Territory Wars, so it's no wonder that Old Republic is going to be your #1 focus. Now, if you were starting off a brand new account, this isn't even possible, but because you're in it for a year and you have these characters accessible, you definitely want to work on them. It's going to be the first 5, Zalbar, Mission, Bastila, Jolie, and T3, of course. You not only want to get them to 7 stars, but you also want to take them up to level 85, gear 8 minimum for now, to be able to try and get Revan with that. But Zalbar and Mission are critical for Grand Arena and Territory Wars. They're amazing, and they're both worth their Zetas. Bastila Shan is phenomenal, and she's going to work really, really well. And Jolie Bindo, same thing on a Jedi team. So Bastila and Jolie, you definitely are wanting to use. They're going to pair really well in any Jedi team, but very specifically underneath Revan. And T3 is a great droid, phenomenal droid. And of all of these 5 that you're going to be working on, the one Zeta that you're going to want to focus on is Jolie. Jolie is non-usable, really. He's not usable without his Zeta. The moment he has his Zeta, he's one of the most powerful characters in the entire game for durability and sustainability of a team. Super annoying character, but the one Zeta really changes everything. Now, you will eventually probably want to do Missions Zeta and then Zalbar's Zeta, but Missions is really important because she gets to take extra shots, which really significantly increases the damage output. Think about Han Solo, and he's got his Zeta, and on his basic, you can, he shoots, and instead of shooting once, he shoots twice, and people say, well, that doesn't seem very good, until they get that Zeta and go, oh my gosh, that extra shot makes a huge difference. Well, think about that basically for Mission. She gets to do those extra shots when Zalbar goes, and that is a lot of really amazing bonus damage. But those 3, Jolie, Mission, and Zalbar, are huge, and they all have Zetas. Bastila, you don't need to do a Zeta, and T3 you don't. And if you don't want to focus on T3 much, get him to 7 stars, gear 8, and be done. Bastila and Jolie, I would max out eventually to, gear 12. And Zalbar and Mission definitely would take him to at least gear 11. Once you have all of these characters 7 stars and leveled up, you're going to be able to get your Revan. And Revan even though he's not coming back for another probably 2.5 months, is genuinely one of the singular best characters in the game. And since you have access to the characters to get him, you should be focused on him. And I know you said you were, so great on your first focus. Let's move to focus number 2. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm skipping over to Night Sisters, but Night Sisters still do some of the best damage. In fact, the highest damage numbers I've seen posted on single teams that aren't like trick squads, just basic squads that anyone can farm and use, is the Night Sisters. In fact, they do more consistent damage than even the Old Republic. It's just Revan is super hard to get. That's why I prioritize them higher. With this team, what's really cool is you can run Asajj lead or Mother Talzin lead. Mother Talzin tends to work better in phase 4, and Asajj tends to work better in phase 3, but you can use them in phase 3 or phase 4, or you can use them at the end of phase 3 and into phase 4, which is pretty amazing. Now, the 4 pieces everybody knows you have to have is Asajj Ventress, Mother Talzin, Old Daka, and Zombie. Those are the 4 kind of crux pieces. Then the other 2 that are optional is Talia for raids and Spirit for PvP, such as Grand Arena, 3v3 or 5v5, and Territory Wars. Me personally, I think you should develop 6 Night Sisters, so that way you have that ability to go 3 in one squad, 3 in another squad if you do 3v3, and you have the ability to have all of them for both PvE and PvE. I don't really think that you need Initiate or the other one that you don't have unlocked, but Mother Talzin for sure, Old Daka, Asajj Ventress, Zombie, and then personally, if it was me, I would do Spirit and Talia, because Night Sister Spirit is super amazing, awesome damage dealer, and phenomenal for PvP. Now, they're going to do a ton of damage for the Sith raid for you, and that's a huge focus for you. You want to contribute more to the Sith raid, and again, they're going to help you in phase 3 or phase 4. And there's not a whole lot of Zetas. If you're running this team, I really suggest Asajj Ventress's lead and Asajj Ventress's unique, and then eventually Mother Talzin's unique. That's really all you have to do. Eventually, you'll probably want both Mother Talzin and Asajj, their lead and their uniques, so a total of 4 Zetas in the long haul. But with most teams needing 6 or 7 Zetas nowadays, it's actually not a very bad team as far as the Zeta requirements and the amount of damage that they do. And they're also not that bad with gearing, to be completely honest. The gearing isn't atrocious. So, but you have a lot of work. You've got a lot of the stars on a lot of the characters, such as, you know, Spirit's already at 5, Talzin's are at 4, Old Daka and Ventress are already done at 7, but you don't really have any gearing in on them. So you definitely want to gear Asajj and Daka and Spirit and Mother Talzin and Zombie. They're all at gear 1. Like, the ones you need leveled up are actually sitting at level 1, kind of gear 1. So you're going to have to definitely put a lot of time into here, but you look better in your Old Republic. So again, Old Republic focus first, Night Sisters focus second. Number 3 is actually going to be First Order. Not only will First Order itself, in and of itself, pay you back in dividends, but you'll be able to use them in 3v3, 5 versus 5, territory wars, defense or offense, and you'll be able to use them in territory battles for like PvE type stuff. But there's only one Zeta necessary on the entire team, and that is First Order Kylo Ren unmasked. His lead kind of makes the whole team overpowered, so you really want to get him up and his lead up. Now, he is your highest level 7-star gear 8, so that's good, but you definitely want to continue that trend. First Order Officer, First Order Stormtrooper, those 2 are amazing, and you definitely want to work on those, but you're going to have to focus on whatever First Order are the easiest for you to get. First Order Stormtrooper is worth it since it's already at 4 stars, and then you're probably going to want to do you know, First Order Executioner. First Order Executioner is an amazing character, and then Kylo Ren, the OG Kylo Ren, is a Cantina farm, relatively quick. You can get him leveled up fast. And so Stormtrooper, Fox, Kylo Ren, First Order Officer, and then Kylo Ren Unmasked. That's really the 5 that I would suggest. I wouldn't worry about the rest. And then the only Zeta, once you get these guys up, is going to be on Kylo Ren Unmasked. And again, the durability, usability of First Order is everywhere on the map. You'll be able to use them in the Sith Raid, Grand Arena, Territory Wars, everywhere. But this is a bigger piece of the puzzle. You have to get your First Order up regardless to get BB-8. And you got to get BB-8 to get JTR. And JTR is one of the best, if not the best teams for Phase 1 of the Sith Raid. And that is important to you. Now, Now, because you're focused on OR, we're going to do the Old Republic for Revan first. Number 2, Night Sisters do in fact do a lot more damage than Jedi Training Rey, so I would suggest Night Sisters next. Plus you have more of the stars, so it's just about gearing the Night Sisters up. And then your third focus will be First Order, to be able to eventually get your BB-8 7 stars and have a viable First Order team for PvE and PvP. Now, once you get your BB-8, the fourth focus is going to be Resistance, and you're going to want to take in Rey Scavenger. She's fine where she's at. Your BB-8, which you'll want to take up eventually all the way to Gear 12, because BB-8 is amazing. And the only Zeta on this team you're going to need is BB-8's unique. Now, to get JTR, you're going to need that BB-8, Rey Scavenger, and you're going to need both of the vets plus Finn, and you don't even have Finn yet. Now, Finn's a relatively easy farm, but the vets are a nightmare. So I put this on 4th priority because the vets are a nightmare to get. You're so far off of BB-8 right now because of First Order and because you don't even have Finn that this is going to be a low stick on the priority list. But Jedi Training Rey, her team for Phase 1 is really one of the best teams in Phase 1 for damage and consistency, and that's kind of what everybody builds for the Sith raid. So, but because it does less damage than Night Sisters and less damage than a Revan team in such as Phase 1 or 2, I do still put it as a lower priority. So the vets, BB-8, Rey, and Finn, you've already got Rey Scavenger, and eventually you'll get BB-8 through First Order. But those are the priority lists in the order of farms for your characters. So when we look through, it looks like you don't even have the vets even started, and that's okay. Now you do have a General Kenobi floating down here at the bottom, and he's 6 stars, Gear 6. I would definitely slap him in your favorites. He's an amazing character, and he's kind of a side project, if you will, that I would highly recommend aside from what I've already suggested. And then if you continue to go down, you can see there's other characters that I've suggested that you do. The rest of them you really can kind of ignore for now. I know there's a droid meta that's theoretically was supposed to happen, and you don't really have many droids, and that's okay. We can kind of ignore this droid meta for you. But remember, you definitely want to keep working on your General Kenobi. You definitely want to keep working on your Wampa kind of on the side, because those are great characters. Your Hermit Yoda, once you get Hermit Yoda, and then the rest, like I said, focus on your Old Republic, then your Night Sisters, then your First Order for BB-8, and then your vets, BB-8, Rey, and Finn, and you should be good to go. You'll be able to slaughter the Sith raid, be able to have multiple teams for all 4 phases. You'll have plenty of teams for Grand Arena, 3v3 and 5v5, and Territory Wars. If you hyper-focus on these 4 factions I just talked about within the next 6 to 8 months, you should be absolutely solid, and anyone would be blessed to have you on their team. So shout out again to Chaos Alliance, NCAA's kicking butt and taking names. As always, if anybody sees something on his roster that you're like, ooh, he should definitely develop this, or you didn't say that, leave them in the comments down below for him, so that way he can see what it is you guys think he should work on. And as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.